We are now live streaming.
We're going to begin our work session. Again, I brought representatives from EBC, which is Brian Donovan, as well as Lawson McCormick, which is Seth Henard, and Mary Young. The reason why I brought them in is like the board has any questions for them. Obviously, I came up with a proposal that will save the town money by hiring these two firms to do our payroll and be act as our finance director as well as the HR components that will be handled. So it kind of, again, it's going to save the town quite a bit of money. They will not be paid for any benefits such as health care, FICA, and all the other good things, holidays, so on and so forth. So with that, I know some of the board members may have some questions, and you could direct them at either Brian from EBC for payroll services and some of the HR services, as well as Seth or Mary from Lumsden McCormick for any of the finance things and some of the HR things, I guess, might funnel your way as well.
Sure. My first question is, why weren't we notified they were going to be here this evening, and why are we just seeing this suspended resolution right now? If I had known they were coming, I would have liked to have a bunch of written questions down, but now we have no idea they were coming, and we're being hit with this at this moment. Unacceptable.
Yeah. First of all, the reason why the resolution is suspended is because there's some issues in the attorney's office. They were sitting on personnel's drive that Tom could not get at them. So that's why they were suspended. Otherwise, they would have been on. And I think everyone is well aware this was coming. You've had numerous email notifications from me. Bob, you asked me numerous questions. I gave you all the numbers. You came back with a whole bunch of other questions. I thought it'd be best to invite these folks here.
And that's a great idea, except you didn't tell us they were coming.
Well,
So, I mean, this is, you know, I don't know what you're trying to do here, but it would have been nice
I'm
to
trying to
have
save the town money. That's
some
what I'm trying to do.
notification.
With excellent services. That's what I'm
And
doing.
do we have a copy of their contracts or anything?
Tom has all the contracts.
I've seen the contracts. I did not bring them with me.
What are they for? What time period?
1 year.
Well, they're 1 year. However, there's an out clause in each of them, if I'm not mistaken. But they're 1 year monthly,
And
which
what's the out clause?
the out clause is just giving notice. They can terminate with us, and we can terminate with them,
With just giving notice?
just for giving notice.
Okay. Could you, I'm sorry, it's Mr. Donovan, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, could you explain to us exactly what you'd be doing
You might want to
for
come
the
up to the
town of
mic.
Lancaster? And yeah, if you speak into that microphone, because this is live streamed and nobody will be able to hear you otherwise.
Yeah, no problem. So, Ron had reached out to, supervisor reached out to our company. We work with a lot of towns and villages in the area, pretty much everybody. And we help out with all different types of things from payroll, time and labor. We have parking services, and we have HR services. So for this situation, I think that there was, some people that had left the office, and they asked us to step in. So we'll take over the payroll, handling the taxes, processing payroll, uploading the files to New York State Retirement Services, everything that goes along with that. And then from an HR standpoint, it would be, as they look for more services, we can handle that stuff.
Okay, are you going to be teaching anybody here in the town of Lancaster?
We can.
What you're doing, and what system do you use to do this?
We're using the system that they already had implemented here.
Which is?
KVS.
Okay. What about Tyler Munis? Are you planning on using that at all?
We'll use that once it gets implemented.
And when will that be?
That's out of our hands.
So they plan on implementing it when time permits. Tyler system.
But they're not coming in and not going to be using that system at this point in time.
Right now, they got to get up and running, making sure our employees get paid. That's the first and foremost thing. They stepped into the most difficult time, year end. Obviously, we lost people. My whole office basically left. And Bob, quite honestly, thanks to you, because they were sick of being harassed by you.
Ron,
Okay.
that's a complete and utter lie.
It is not.
A
It
complete
is
and utter
not.
lie.
It is not a lie.
It's
Okay, we'll let
ridiculous.
people make statements if you want, Bob, but.
Okay, Ron, for the record, since you want to go on the record here, I'm going to turn this over to recognize our town clerk, Diane Terranova, who happened to speak to all these people. Okay?
I spoke to every person that left your office, and the reason for their leaving, I was told by them, had nothing to do with the 4 council members.
Okay. Anyway, same position that we're in. I need to make payroll. make sure checks get paid. These folks came in the most difficult time and basically took care of everything to keep us up and running and keep the lights on.
So what I can do is give you a little background on us. So we've been around since the late 60s. We have parking systems that we've been working with the town of Lancaster. We work with a lot of different towns, a lot of different villages. And what we'll do for some towns and villages, and I think Ron had gotten our name from some of the other supervisors that work with us currently. So like town West Seneca, they have 2 people that were working in their HR department. They had retired and they never replaced them. So we've been doing their HR services for the last 8 years. And so we'll do everything from, we'll help out with union negotiations, their backgrounds, their drug screening. We'll do all their handbooks, all their policy updates. We will do, pretty much everything from an HR standpoint for them. Other towns, we do a lot of payroll for a lot of towns. They'll use our system. One of the things is that the town of Lancaster invested pretty heavily into the Munis and the KVS system. So we have systems that could do the payroll. Ours is called UKG, but there's already a pretty big investment into the KVS and the Munis systems. So what we did is we freed up a team. We're about 65 employees, our company. So we have CPAs on staff. We have 8 or 9 HR professionals on staff. We have certified payroll professionals on staff. So in this situation, I think you guys were in dire straits of getting somebody out here to get your payroll processed. And so when we were reached out to, we freed up some people, got them out here. We had CPAs on staff. We had a controller on staff. We did everything from getting the payroll process, getting it into the system. We processed all the checks. We uploaded all the ACH files to the bank for direct deposits. We uploaded the positive pay files for the bank for the checks to be cleared. We uploaded the taxes to the proper agencies. We went and we're uploading all the reports to the New York State Retirement System just to make sure everything was taking place, during this, exodus of people. So from us, it's not like I've known Ron, just met him when we were reached out to. Like I said, we work with a lot of towns and villages. We do parking control systems. We put time and attendance systems in pretty much every government agency in Western New York.
And your cost is going to be how much to the town of Lancaster?
Well, we came in at a flat fee because we think that if we were at the hourly rate that we charge at 150, I think we already put in close to 100 hours, would have been 15,000. So we went to a flat fee on a monthly basis at $8,200. Okay. And then once we streamline the way that the system, the payroll is being done, which we saw a lot of manual efforts that are being done, we think we can streamline it quite a bit. And then we can implement some of our HR services to help the town with that.
Great. We have some department heads who are in here. Who's going to be answering questions for our department heads? I mean, what kind of hours are you guys putting in, and who's going to be available during the regular work week to answer the questions for them?
I think, right now, the primary focus was to just get the payroll up and make sure that the payroll got processed properly. Okay. And make sure that the taxes got paid to the proper agencies, make sure all that stuff has been being done. So that's been the big effort over the last 2-3 weeks. And then I think once we streamline the payroll process and we can help out, we're the largest payroll provider in Western New York. So, and we're the largest HR outsourced services HR company in the area. So what we believe we can do is help out, even get your system up, the Munis system, because we have technicians that can get your time clocks on the walls, get that implemented to help streamline the way that the payroll is being done right now. The process that's being done here is pretty archaic and it's manual, so it's a lot of work. We've already put in over 100 hours in the last couple of weeks between having 5 people out here working on different parts of getting everything done. I mean, if at $150 an hour, it would have been pretty expensive.
Sure.
So we've been able to step in and do that. And I think once we streamline the whole process of what's going on here, we think we can tamper that down and then offer some HR services as needed.
Great, thank you.
And I
Anybody
have
else
reached
got
out
questions?
to other townships that are using them, nothing but good words. Also, I did try 2 other companies to talk to. Neither of them would take this on at this time because of the...
I don't think anybody would come out here and actually step in and do your payroll for you without getting the payroll on their system. I mean, so I thought, I mean, for us, we had to free up resources to do this. and we work with a lot of the accounting firms. We work with Lumsden McCormick. We work with, TSA and all the large accounting firms in the area. We're a preferred payroll provider and HR services provider for pretty much, like I said, we've worked with, I could tell you, every single town and village. We've worked with Lancaster for the last 20 years that we've done, we do your parking access controls. We do a lot of time stamp cards. We do, and then these are some other things that we had available. So I think, I think Ron had heard about us from other towns and villages and then reached out to us. So,
Do any of the department heads have any questions before we go?
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Sir?
yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay. If you implemented the system with the payroll, Lancaster's payroll with your own system that you already have, instead of what we have here, the KVS and the Tyler Muni system, would that cut down on the hours of, that it would take you to do the payroll?
Absolutely.
And the problem with that would be is that it's not going to marry into, the type.
Into the accounting software.
Accounting software.
Right now, we
It's a whole package.
can get some, interfaces built into it, but I think you guys, invested already into the Munis system. So, for us, it's, we're just coming out here working on your system. One of the reasons that a lot of towns and villages reach out to us is when there's transitions. For us, we're a steady, so, if somebody, a lot of government agencies they're real thin, so they'll only have like 1 or 2 people doing payroll, maybe 1 or 2 people doing HR. So if somebody leaves, it's always a catastrophe. So with us, we have multiple people that are cross-trained that we'll have cross-trained even on your current system, that if something happens, we just plug somebody else in, so it's like HRO services or outsourcing payroll services to affirm that, we would rather have you on our system, believe it. I mean, we don't want to work on somebody else's system. But, we freed up the resources to come out here and work on the system and learn it. So we have to learn the system, implement it, and then if you have somebody that you wanted to hire in that position, we can train them.
Can you send us an estimate what it would cost to use your system?
Sure,
Great, appreciate it.
no problem.
Anybody else? Chief?
I do.
John?
I have
Oh, sorry.
another one.
You got more? Oh, sorry.
I have an employee who says her paycheck was incorrect this past week.
Okay.
And she didn't know, she gave something to Sharon in the supervisor's office, because we don't have anybody to reach out to. Should we continue doing that, give it to the clerk typist in his office, or do we contact you?
I would think we'd probably want to coordinate it through one person that works for the town that can gather the information, and then we're coming in, getting the information and making sure we get it into the system and making adjustments after the fact. That would be something, if you wanted us to be available to take some of that stuff, we could do that. Like, the town of West Seneca, nobody knows that, that they don't have their own HR department. So we have office space there. And we do this for the town of Boston. We do a lot of stuff for Hamburg. We do stuff for pretty much, the sheriff's office. We do Monroe County Sheriff's. We do almost every sheriff's office. We do, the state court system. But so a lot of times we're behind the scenes and they'll have somebody that's a point person, but sometimes we're more visible, but representing the town or village.
Because you're doing the payroll, so
Yeah.
if she has a payroll question, we would need to know who to ask.
Yeah, we have somebody that's really assigned to the payroll, and then there's a team behind that. So we have like 2 CPAs that are working to make sure on staff, that are on our staff, that make sure that all the taxes are filed properly with the agencies.
Okay, so
so-
if you could get to us
Sure.
a name and telephone number of who we could call, or leave a message or an email, something that we could contact if there was a question or an issue. That
Okay.
would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'd like to just coordinate it, make sure that like one person's gathering the information and then making sure that we put all checks and balances in place to make sure that everything gets processed properly or adjustments get made.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Diane, that's my question.
And again, Brian, thank you so much on short notice for coming in and basically saving us from embarrassment.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the finance group?
Sure. Come on up. Again, since I didn't know you were coming, I have to pull up some of the questions that I had to the supervisor on my phone. And in the meantime,
If I could get both your names for the record?
Mary Young.
I have your questions if you want.
It's
do you-
Seth Hennard.
yeah.
Mary Young and?
Seth Hennard, H-E-N-N-A-R-D.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what are you guys looking for to charge us for conducting your services? And I guess before that, if you could explain exactly what you'll be doing
Sure.
for the town of Lancaster
so
if we approve this?
Yep, we met with Ron and Tom last week. We went through a bunch of details that your previous director of finance, two of them, have been doing to get an idea of what kind of things you need to do. So a lot of it is doing like the monthly accounting entries, the monthly closes, stuff like that. To include, bank reconciliations, and making sure that there's proper segregation of duties, so you don't have enough staff in that office right now. It's also doing more of the things that happen a few times per year, like bond payments, debt payments, your reporting for the American Rescue Plan has to be done, taxes, tax cap, tax rates of those, the LoSAP plans, all that financial related information. Similar to what EBC was saying, we do have a lot of different levels and rates, hourly rates, to kind of make that work with the town. And you have a existing budget. We did a flat rate of $82.50 a month over the years, so we can kind of have more consistency throughout the year. A lot of that's going to happen more upfront, getting you ready for your 12/31 audit. When your auditors come in a few months, they're going to want to have things that are wrapped up for the previous year. Making sure you're audit ready so things are done and those controls are working out well. So we do this with other towns, other school districts, where we come in when there's been turnover and we help out temporary. We can train somebody if you have someone hired, but right now I think it's more doing it until there's someone in that position, if that's the place the town wants to go into.
Okay. And I apologize, some of these questions that I got on here, because I didn't know either one of you groups were coming in this evening. Hang on one second. Who's going to be issuing our payroll and overtime reports? Are you going to be able to do something like that for us?
Yeah, we can run those reports out of the KDS system.
Okay, great. If either one of you people ever dealt with IDA issues before, industrial development
Yeah, we
agency
audit
issues?
several IDAs.
Okay.
Erie County, Niagara County.
Okay, because Lancaster has their own, and paperwork comes in to
Yeah.
whoever the secretary is, and then it usually get turned over to the finance director.
Yep, and we can
So
take
you
care of
guys are going to be
that.
able to handle
We
that?
have those contacts at all the local IDAs already.
Okay, for personnel matters, who reaches out to the county to find out for certain positions? If we have to put a new position in there, a lot of times we got to reach out to the county and ask them if we can put that into our, into effect in the town of
You
Lancaster.
mean for lists and stuff like that?
Well, for
Cindy's been
listings,
doing that.
Cindy's going to take
Cindy's
care of
been
that?
doing that.
Okay. Okay, who's going to handle our budget for 2024? Are you guys going to be working on that as well?
We can help with that with the department heads and, get the requests in and kind of formalize make sure it looks good and everything, yeah.
What system are you going to use for that? Are you guys familiar with Tyler Munis?
Yeah, we audit other entities with Tyler Munis, so we can work with your system. We don't have our own system we use your system for that, either on-site or remotely.
Between the two groups here, who's going to be responding to FOIL requests? A lot of the stuff is they ask for transactional amounts, financial FOIL requests. Are you guys used to dealing with that? I mean, it'd have to be coordinated through the town attorney
Right.
and the town
And
clerk.
if it's financial related, we can, get it fairly easily, I would think. We'll coordinate what needs to go to. If it's payroll related, we'll defer to EBC to handle the payroll related.
Okay, and who's going to be the contact point for all our department heads who have questions on finances and have questions from the town board, et cetera?
The main contact would be Mary, but I'm also available if it's necessary for that.
Would that be during normal business hours, regardless of whether you're here or not?
Yeah.
Yes.
You email us, we're available all the time. And if Mary's not around, I'll be around, so you can email both of us. And I think the main contact would be Mary, but I'll also be around as well, so either way it would work out.
Do you want the emails going to the finance,
Correct.
not your, right? Okay.
Yeah, there's a finance email for
Yeah,
the
so I'll-
town, which we
once
have
this is
access
done-
to, so we can see that.
Yeah, once this is done, said and done, I'll send something to all the department heads, where the emails should be going for, each of the components. Just want to get the stuff taken care of first.
Any other questions? Any department heads have any questions? Michelle Barbaro, Deputy Highway Superintendent.
If we need funds transferred from a different line currently, like in order to pay our fuel bill, who we contact, and are you able to transfer those funds? And also my second question is, and encumbrances, are we to email what we need encumbered from 22 to 23? Because we didn't pay our bill in November, because it came in December after the exit of the director. And these funds, obviously with the storm, are pretty high and need to get paid.
If we can work with you on that to get those, the right amounts, get in the system correctly. Again, Mary's the primary contact using that finance at Lancaster, so we can do
So you guys can do
the
all
banking
that.
transfers, yeah, we met with Chase Bank to handle the authorizations and everything, so.
Yeah, you could just email, it's finance@lancasterny.gov, and then I'm looking at that email every day. I'll probably have follow-up questions, so I'll either email you back or just give you a call.
And if we're not sure where the funds were being transferred from, in particular fuel before, you'll be able to
Yep.
find that, right?
Yep, I'll be able to look at the history on that.
Thank you.
Question on bonds. I take it you guys take a look at our bonds as well?
Yep, that was on the list.
Okay, because we have a question about the bonds. You know,
Yeah.
what bonds were utilized to purchase vehicles for the rec department and the highway department.
Okay.
And we're trying to figure out what's still on bond that we have, and have we gotten rid of any vehicles that were still on bond, and we got a new vehicle in there.
Yeah.
We've asked that question about 6 months ago, never got a response from our own people.
Okay.
You guys will be able to answer that?
And we can look into it and make sure the records are there, we can answer it, yes.
Okay, if the records are there, you can answer
They
it.
should be there, it shouldn't be too bad, yeah.
Okay.
You took my question.
Once again,
What's that?
You took my question.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to thank the folks as well. I did reach out to 3 companies as well, 3 firms for this. And this company here, this firm was the only one that had the bandwidth to take this on in such short notice. So thank you very much. I know Mary's been in the office numerous days on vacation, okay, to get things squared away, to help get things squared away. So again, thank you so much for your efforts and helping us through these.
Like 130 people, about 30 of us are almost purely government, so we have other people that will help out Mary as we
Great.
find things.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything from department heads? Matt?
I could discuss the MS4 report for December in 2022 during the regular meeting.
Okay. Ed?
Just 4 projects real quick. Senior Center, there'll be a resolution next meeting that will allow the town to designate me as the certifying officer for the environmental work, and that's in lieu of having to redo all the tribal contacts, which took 6 months. Something that the state wants to see, so that resolution will come next meeting. The police building flooring,
I did talk to L.I.
okay.
Ron is in conjunction with Sam Lester. And
Okay.
we're going to have a meeting, which we're in the process of trying to set up with the chief. I'm just waiting to hear back what's good with them.
Right.
And then I will talk to the chief and
Right.
we'll set it up.
The police cameras were pretty much all set. Once I just need the agreement that NICEAG had sent over, that whole agreement. Once I get that back signed, then I can submit the package to NICEAG and they should be good to go.
Okay.
And the last thing is the exterior of the police building. It's been a little bit limbo. We were trying to get an answer out of the architect, which I finally did. The architect can hold the construction contract, so we will get one point of contact through the architect. So he's revising his proposal to get it back to us, so.
Thank you.
Talking. That's it.
Diane, anything from your office?
Hang on a second. The federal government passed some budget things just recently, and part of that is, unfortunately, it's a whole bunch of money, but part of that is going to be coming to the town of Lancaster in that we should be receiving money for the senior center, a sizable amount of money for that. We should also be receiving money for body cams for the police department. That did all go through. We should be hearing from them within the month, or I hope within 30 days or so. And so we should be bringing a decent amount of money into the town of Lancaster.
Yeah, the Community Block Development Program from the state will be getting $367,000. As I always mention, Community Block, it's for low to moderate income. The only one that qualifies in the town is the senior center. So all of our efforts goes towards there. So I think a van is included in there, as well as a pavilion, some benches and sidewalks, so on and so forth, so.
Yeah, for the senior center, I think we're going to be doing the siding, the floors, the roofing, new lights, skylights in there. We should have the money for that. The siding is pretty much almost falling off the building, so hopefully we use it for some new flooring as well, Mary Beth, to make sure people aren't tripping on the floors. And by the way, we just put a new floor out here in Town Hall because there were some of those issues with people tripping on there. Diane, how is the new floor?
Perfect.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. John, anything from you? Highway?
Moving from the lizard.
So, yeah, and, I'll make a statement at the meeting about all the work that was done by everybody. Ron, I'll give you want a couple minutes now?
It's up to you.
I'd say during the meeting is probably best, okay? No, we went through a lot, and our guys really stepped up. So, any other department heads that want to speak? Okay. So, I don't know, you want to go through the resolutions or anything that sticks out to anybody? We have the reorg ones. So, we are pulling in the normal, regular meeting. Number 11, we're pulling, it's being replaced by suspended. We do have 3 suspendeds. As you know, 2 for the firms that we just talked to, and the third is kind of replacing number 11. Anything else from anybody? All right, we'll take a couple-minute break then. Nope, no, I talked to Tom, he was no.
Mr. Fowler, you got a minute?
I do, sir.
Hey, Chief.
It smells good. I don't know if there's the final or the blue. Yeah. Do you smell it in your office?
The what?
The new flooring? Is it,
Only when they were laying it.
oh, not now.
Yeah.
Call the meeting in order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Here.
Councilmember Dickman.
Here.
Councilmember Leary.
Here.
Councilmember Mazur.
Here.
Supervisor Rufino.
Here, please stand.
If we could shut the door?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the invocation today, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for the victims and families of the recent blizzard, as well as our player, Damar Hamlin, and the serious injury he suffered. Thank you. Tonight's meeting, we have 9 pre-filed organizational resolutions, 14 pre-filed resolutions, 3 suspended resolutions, no public hearings, no executive sessions. We'll be closing in memory of the victims and families of the recent blizzard, as well as Marjorie Murphy. At this point, I'll recognize any hands that want to talk about any of the 26 total, right? 26 total resolutions. And a second time, and a third. Okay, I'm going to move. Oh, yes. You have to come up to the podium, please.
First of all, I want to say I approve of Resolution 14. I got a little chit sheet I was going to read off of you what I say, but I'm just going to say what I have to say. I'm a 16-year veteran working for Lancaster, 16 years. So I've seen a lot of bosses come, a lot of bosses go, a lot of BS. I see Carmen come to the senior center constantly, always helping out, doing things without asking. He's in his truck, something happens down there, he gets out of the truck and he does the job. Sometimes maybe we ought to think of, instead of promoting pals, instead of promoting someone that's qualified for the job and does the job and gets the job done. Thanks.
Sir, can I just have your name, please, for the record?
John Schroeder,
SZFSR.
S-R-O-D-A.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move on to official reports, obviously we suffered a blizzard of a lifetime, disrupting all of our families, especially our workers. You know, from the police to the highway to the Parks and Rec, a lot of these folks were out there sacrificing their times with their families to keep our streets and everything clear. And they've done a terrific job. I heard a lot of compliments on you guys. I see some are here tonight. Great job. You know, again, it was just something that we haven't had. And I've seen the blizzard of 77. Some of you folks have not. I have to look at this and say, this was a little worse. In the estimate, you know, when you look at the death toll, in 77 there was reported 28 or 29. Those numbers are kind of fluxed around. But anyway, we're up to 41 here. And I say that now because in the time of, we did have the forewarning out there this time. The blizzard of 77 did not. I was a sophomore at McKinley High School. I was stranded. Luckily, 2 older people picked myself and my friend up And I lived on the west side of Buffalo, and they gave us a ride home before, before we were in harm's way. My dad didn't make it home for 5 days. He almost died, actually, in the blizzard. Because he couldn't see where he was going, but he ended up at my brother's house and spent 5 days there. So there was little to no warning for that one. This one, we had all the warnings out there. The other thing you have to think about is back then, we did not have cell phones. We have cell phones now. So with all the communications, the forewarnings, and the things that we had, we still had 41 deaths. So again, just measuring those numbers tells me that that was a bit worse than no blizzard is good, but that tells me that that was a little bit worse. I want to recognize personally Ron Rosler, and I'm going to let him say a few words. Ron, when these events strike, is just a go-to guy for everybody. I was on the phone with Ron probably 50 times, Ron. I mean, just, police chief, I was on with him often, our highway superintendent as well. We were all coordinating, making sure that it was safer. We're all working together, and that's what you're supposed to do in government. You're supposed to work together. And believe me, Lancaster's in good shape because we were working together. So Ron, I'm going to turn this over to you. Let me have a few words on this.
Thank you. Just a quick overview of the storm. We did have some issues. We had some problems. I'm not even going to get into those. It's something that we're going to work on to, make it better for the next time, or at least, have a better plan in place. There's a certain agency that their job is to support towns, villages, emergency services in shelter operations. They were non-existent. So I've already sent emails to set up a meeting with them and go over different shelter options and most of all shelter support and people to work and assist in those shelters, because we just don't have the people to do that. So that's already in progress. We have one particular Walden Avenue business neighbor that needs to be addressed. Their issues created tons of problems with traffic for the police department, for the fire departments. So that's another issue that we'll discuss as we go along through the first. I don't want to let it go too long. I want to pretty much have everything addressed, and then we can work on it from there, within the next month. Highway department, again, fantastic job. Police department, again, stuff that they've never seen, never had to deal with before, as far as going out and making rescues out of vehicles and that. And then the biggest problem we ran into is where do we take them and that. If we had one shelter set up, I know we talked about the senior center, using that as a shelter, where the majority of these people were rescued from, you couldn't get from there to the senior center if that were to be a shelter. So again, several conversations with Chief Karn and with the on-duty lieutenants. What do we do with these people? They've never had to shelter people at the police station or in the town court building before, but they did, and it worked. So there's certain situations that you just got to do whatever you have. Over the last several years, we've tried to go away from using the fire departments as a sheltering area, just because they're so busy doing emergency services. It's just one more thing that you can't add on to them. We can use their buildings, but we need people to come in and support that shelter and work to help support that shelter. So again, those are meetings that I'm setting up. I want to set up just a quick meeting to go over what each department had, how it worked out with them, what we can do to make things better from there, and then a couple other, just planning things for the future. I tried to keep the town board as up to date as possible with the reports that we had coming in. And again, in a situation, this storm, the supervisor decided, going back and forth, that we're going to declare our own state of emergency, and it really worked to our benefit. One of the sentences in the declaration is that each department will take whatever steps are necessary to protect life, property, infrastructure, and a number of other things. And it worked because we needed that. We set up the ambulance corps as basically a field hospital. So as the fire departments went out and made rescues, or if the police department made a rescue and that person needed medical care, they were transported directly to LVAC's headquarters. And they couldn't get to the hospitals. So they kept them there, treated them, stabilized them. The next morning, they called me, they said, we got 5 patients we need to get to a hospital. So I called the highway department, said, I need a path to Millard Suburban. So normally, they're not going to plow non-town streets, but in a state of emergency, you know, we're able to do that. And once we discussed that, there was no problem. 2 plows, did a path, Central, Harris Hill, to Griner, to Transit, and from there it was opened up. And the ambulance were able to transport their people to the hospital. Pretty much kept that open as a regular run until they were able to open up part of the 33 just for, was supposed to be just for emergency services, but you know, as the plows are going down, you got people driving right behind them, you know, because they want to go out and see what's going on. So again, that's an issue. I'm not sure how to solve the travel ban and the people who fail to observe it. Transported a maternity case in the emergency management vehicle, thanks to Adam and the DPW guys. They took a path from Twin District right to LVAC, you know, to get that patient to them. And like I said, for as bad as it was, Friday night was horrible. It was, I mean, it was horrible. So, but for as bad as it was, we didn't have any deaths in town that I'm aware of. Again, police department doing rescues that they normally wouldn't do, did a fantastic job in that, and they may do what they had to do. And then again, by what? Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, highway department had the roads clear. You know, so again, all in all, it went pretty good.
How bad was the driving ban? Like people, you know?
Oh, terrible.
Was it really?
Yeah, there were cars, tractor trailers everywhere. And a lot of people, I think the chief will agree, a lot of people were from out of town. It's Christmas, the holiday, people driving in. They either didn't know what to do, where to go, or some claim they weren't aware of it. You know, so that was a big problem. But again, for the most part, if people would have stayed home and not have been on the road, we would have sailed through this with no problems. But and the truck drivers, understanding that they have a job to do, they have to keep moving to make money, and that just creates a huge problem. So, but again, so my plan moving forward, and I'll report back to the town board, meeting with all the department heads, do a quick hot wash as far as what happened, what went good for them, what went bad, and then how can we make that better, and then work you know, with this other agency as far as sheltering and sheltering support, and make sure that we have something in place, especially when we have so much notice, you know, to make sure we have something in place, again, on both ends of the town. You know, so if, you know, most storms, what would, you know, have happened over the last several years is somewhere in Lancaster is the dividing line. You know, usually Walden Avenue. This time, the majority of problems, everybody had the same wind and snow, but the majority of problems was Walden Avenue and north. So, you know, the last 6 feet, 7 feet of snow, Walden Avenue and south got all the snow. Up north, they didn't have as much until the next day. So it's something we're going to work on, and again, it's a constant planning process. So any questions for me?
Thank you very
No,
much.
thank you, Ron, for
Thank
everything.
you, guys. I appreciate it.
Jeff?
Even though they're not employees of the town, our fire departments, LVAC, did a tremendous job. One thing I need to mention is our youth bureau sustained some serious damage on Christmas morning. We had some sprinkler systems go up, the lines froze, busted 5 heads, pipe burst as well, and there was flooding in multiple offices and that. John, you wanted to say something?
Yes, and thank you for mentioning it. There are 2 people that deserve a huge amount of thanks. If it weren't for the quick thinking of 2 of the crew members, we would have had total devastation at the Youth Bureau on Christmas Day. Ron Hoffman, first of all, at 7:30 in the morning, while he was plowing the parking lot, happened to notice out of the corner of his eye, the strobe light blinking inside the building. Thank goodness he checked the building. When he opened up the door, the front door, water came gushing out of the building. He immediately got a hold of Carmen Ciccarelli. They both contacted the Youth Bureau staff. I was there within a half hour. They had to come and pick me up to bring me over to the Youth Bureau. Other staff members got there within a few hours, trying to push as much water out of the building as possible. And thank goodness that Carmen was able to immediately contact a crew, a company, to come in to suck the water out of the building. And within hours, there were people there working on the building, cleaning the building, getting the building dried out. And if it wouldn't have been Ron and Carmen working so quickly, taking care of things on an immediate basis, the Youth Bureau would have had huge devastation. At this point in time, the building is still drying out. But if it wasn't for their quick action, they'd have to be ripping out walls and everything. At this point in time, that probably won't be necessary because of the things that they took care of immediately on Christmas morning. And we owe them a debt of gratitude.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to move on to our official reports.
Sure. Well, I'll echo that sentiment. There was quite a devastating storm, and I was more concerned with the stormwater effects after the rapid runoff, and it appeared to be addressed quite well. That being said, I did submit this morning the December 22 stormwater report, and the last one for fiscal year of 2022. And if I would say, within the last 3 years, the drainage complaints have reduced by approximately 50% just through effective stormwater management practices and basically having discussions with the homeowners on how to use their systems, and the great work again by the highway department with maintaining those systems that are already in place. On that report, you'll see that we do have a couple of ponds that are still in need of remediation. This is probably not the best time of year to do that, but come spring of 2023, it's one of the top priorities, I believe, that we really need to manage in order to maintain the health of those ponds. And I'd also like to report that we did have that the NFIP community assessment visit prior to the previous storm that we experienced. And I'm glad to report that we visited approximately 10 sites. They had some in-depth questioning of our floodplain management practices. I'm still compiling a report which will be copied to this board as I present it back to the DEC. So again, with any other questions on any of the stormwater issues, I'm always available to discuss those. And that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else, official reports or town board committee reports?
No, but I would like to thank John, Michelle 30 hours as a wingman. Highway Department, phenomenal job, unbelievable. All the time away from your family, making sure that the roads were open, safe, getting ambulances to Suburban, phenomenal job. Keeping our fire departments open, their parking lot as well, so they could get out. Chief and your police department, great job within a situation you've never seen before, but working in collaboration with everyone, and also Ron. Unbelievable. We were the first town open, the ban lifted. Great job. Thank you.
Real quick, Mark.
Yes.
I want to thank Mark. Mark was in constant contact with our department the whole weekend. A couple of our trucks went down. A couple of our guys were stranded for quite a significant amount of time, and we couldn't even get to them. Mark was chomping at the bit to get out and go help them. And you don't know what it took to me to convince them to just stay in. Even though they were right around the corner, we eventually got Twin Village to come and pick our guys up. But, Ron, you were in constant contact with us. Mark was awesome. Obviously, Chief Garn, the police department, and Ron Roger. So, our guys, my deputy, a big thank you. I appreciate you all. You guys lost Christmas, but you busted through it, and we came out pretty strong. So, thank you very much. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, we're going to move on to our pre-filed resolutions for the organization meeting. I have the first one. I'd like to move resolution number 1, whereas the Town Board of Town of Lancaster wishes to implement a policy establishing certain requirements relative to the town procurement of public work projects to be performed by outside contractors on town property. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the Town of Lancaster Department seeking to have any public work project performed by outside contractors on town property will be required to adhere to the following provisions. 1, shall be procured in a manner consistent with the requirements specified in General Municipal Law 103. 2, selected contractor shall provide a written contract proposal agreement estimate, quote, stipulating the task work to be performed, which will be signed and dated by both the contract and the town official, which will include following language above the signatures. The town of Lancaster is listed as an additional insured on a primary and non-contributory basis for all ongoing and completed operations. In addition, contractors shall provide proof of current workers' compensation and New York State disability coverage or certificate of exemption from the New York State Workers' Compensation Board. They will also provide liability insurance coverages for the categories required and in the amount specified by the town. The aforementioned documents are to be provided to the town attorney's office for review and approval prior to any work being initiated. Number 3, shall be authorized and approved by the Town of Lancaster Town Board via a resolution. Number 4, any professional service engagement entered into after August 20th, 2018, which are reasonably anticipated to cost $75,000 or more per fiscal year, shall require issuance of a written request for proposals to be reviewed by the town board. Awards of professional services will be made in conjunction with items 1, 2, and 3 above where applicable. And be it further resolved, Town of Lancaster Department heads be and hereby authorized to sign contracts, proposals, agreements, estimates, quotes for public works projects in the amount of $2,500 or less in conjunction with the provisions stated above. Public work projects in the amount of $2,500.01 or more require the town supervisor's signature in conjunction with the provisions stated above. And be it further resolved, in the event of an urgent and unexpected emergency situation where health and public safety or the conservation of public resource is at risk, or where the time-sensitive nature of work requires immediate action, the contract can be executed and approved by the town board retroactively in conjunction with all provisions stated above. And be it further resolved, this resolution is effective immediately and shall supersede any previous versions of the policy. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 2, whereas it is essential to the orderly and efficient conduct of regular and special meetings of the town board of the town of Lancaster to adopt rules of order so that the business of the town of Lancaster may be conducted with dispatch and decorum. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with section 63 of town law of the state of New York, the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby adopts for the year 2023 the following amendments to rules of order for the conduct of regular and special meetings. Time and presentation to the clerk. Resolutions number, this is Rule 7. Resolutions to be prepared by the town attorney's office containing a legal notice shall be submitted to the town attorney's office by 4 p.m. on the Monday preceding a town board meeting. Fully prepared resolutions containing a legal notice shall be submitted as a Microsoft Word document to the town clerk by 12 noon on Wednesday preceding a town board meeting. Resolutions with a legal notice to be prepared by the town clerk, town attorney, or supervisor must be delivered with all appropriate and required documents to the respective offices by noon on the Tuesday preceding the town board meeting. Fully prepared resolutions not containing a legal notice shall be submitted as Microsoft Word document to the town clerk before 3 p.m. on the Thursday preceding the town board meeting for presentation by the town clerk at the next town board meeting. Town board communications shall be submitted to the town clerk before 3 p.m. on the Thursday preceding the town board meeting for presentation by the town clerk or the next town board meeting. In the event of a holiday occurring on the Thursday or Friday preceding the town board meeting, presentations of resolutions or requests for preparation of resolutions shall be delivered to town clerk, town attorney, and supervisor 1 day earlier than the aforementioned dates and times. The resolutions, communications, and as far as practical, a fully prepared agenda shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the town board members on the Friday evening preceding each regular town board meeting. The town clerk, town attorney, and supervisor are authorized to promote rules and regulations deemed necessary to implement Rule 7. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, Councilmember Leary, number 3.
Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, I move the following resolution for adoption. Resolved, be it resolved that the following appointees be and are hereby made by the town board of the town of Lancaster. These appointments shall be effective January 1st, 2023. The individuals so appointed shall serve at the will of the town board unless otherwise specified by law, and compensation, if any, shall be paid consistent with the applicable schedule of salaries adopted by the town board for the 2023 calendar year. Gail Marie Wojciech, be and is hereby appointed account clerk, part-time, Games of Chance auditor. Adam Dickman, be and is hereby appointed the alternate voting delegate to represent the town of Lancaster at official meetings of the Northeast Southtowns Nest Solid Waste Management Board. Matt Fichione, be and is hereby appointed #1 alternate natural disaster service coordinator. Thomas Fowler Jr., be and is hereby appointed town attorney under his current terms and conditions of employment. Also, Thomas Fowler Jr., be and is hereby appointed town prosecutor under his current terms and conditions of employment. Thomas Fowler Jr., be and is hereby appointed second alternate affirmative action officer in compliance with Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. William Card, be and is hereby appointed second alternate natural disaster service coordinator. Emily Orlando, be and is hereby appointed deputy town attorney under her current terms and conditions of employment. John Pilato, be and is hereby appointed drainage officer. Ronald Rosler, be and is hereby appointed natural disaster services coordinator, part-time. Ronald Ruffino, be and is hereby appointed affirmative action officer in compliance with Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. Ronald Ruffino Senior, be and is hereby appointed the voting delegate to represent the town of Lancaster at official meetings of the Northeast Southtowns Nest Solid Waste Management Board. Diane Terranova, be and is hereby appointed registrar of vital statistics. Bingo inspectors, part-time. John Crinzy, be and is hereby appointed bingo inspector, part-time. Judy Del Conzo, be and is hereby appointed bingo inspector, part-time. Patrick Ferrugio, be and is hereby appointed bingo inspector, part-time. Gail Wojciech, be and is hereby appointed bingo inspector, part-time. And for the historian for the town, Mary Jo Monin, be and is hereby appointed town historian.
May I have a second?
A second.
There's a second page.
Where are the rest of the pages? Nobody gave me the rest of the pages. Oh, okay. Thank you. I thought that was too easy. Catherine Bernecki, be and is hereby appointed Chairman, Assessment Review Board for the term of 1 year beginning January 1, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023. For the Ethics Board, Keith Storer, be and is hereby appointed member, Ethics Board for the term of 5 years beginning January 1, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2027. For the Industrial Development Agency, we have Brett Gizzoni, myself, Robert Leary, Kevin Lemaster, Shannon McNichol, Kevin Peterson, David Renault, and Lynn Ruda will all be members of the Industrial Development Agency to serve at the will of the town board. For the Planning Board, we have Carlo Di Rienzo, be and is hereby appointed Chairman, Planning Board for the period from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. Carlo Di Rienzo, be and is hereby appointed a member of the Planning Board as well. Youth Bureau, Keith Curl is appointed Chairman of the Youth Board. Caesar Mark Hickel, Marchioli, thank you. be and is hereby appointed Vice Chair. Michael Candela, be and is hereby appointed member of the Youth Board. Dean, be and is hereby appointed member of the Youth Board. Chloe Finlayson, be and is hereby appointed member of Youth Board. Kaylee Jackson, be and is hereby appointed another member of the Youth Board. Susan Jacobs, be and is hereby appointed member of the Youth Board. Andrew Couple, be and is hereby appointed member Youth Board. James Lupini, be and is hereby appointed member Youth Board. Gianna Marla, be and is hereby appointed a member. Anthony Morano, be and is hereby appointed a member. John Parker, will also hereby appointed a member of the Youth Board. Daniel Pavlicek, be and is hereby appointed a member of the Youth Board. Jill Santoro, be and is hereby appointed a member of the Youth Board. Reverend Richard Shear, be and is hereby appointed a member of the Youth Board. Harbir Singh, be and is hereby appointed a member of the Youth Board. Reverend Paul Steller, be and is hereby appointed a member of the Youth Board. Deb Shock Watson, be and is appointed a member of the Youth Board. And Brian Witt, be and is hereby appointed member of the Youth Board. For the Zoning Board of Appeals, John Mickley be and is hereby appointed Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals for the period January 1, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. John Mickley be and is hereby appointed a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the period January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2027. Melissa Studley be and is hereby appointed a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, again for the period January 1, 2023 to December 31st, 2024. Now, be it further resolved that the town clerk give notice of the appointment of as affirmative action officer in a display advertisement in the official newspaper of the town in the form attached hereto and made a part thereof.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, I have a couple comments. I've never been consulted for any of these appointments. Even when I was supervisor and didn't have a majority, or had the majority of the board, I reached out to every council member for input. Obviously, I don't have majority. I'm not even considered. I do want to make a statement on the IDA, which I proudly chaired for 2 years. When I chaired the IDA and the members that we had in there, we took over with slightly over $1 million in that account. That account has grown over $1.6 million, I believe now, mainly due to the projects that I went out and personally represented us. And just to name a couple, Brazen Brewery, Premier Dog Sports, Dara Corporation. There's a whole bunch more that I listed. I've watched some of the meetings. It's an embarrassment to see what has happened to that board. Okay? The other thing I did when I took over is I analyzed. You always hear about people being paid for things that it's not worth the money that they're doing. I analyzed all the jobs that people were getting paid, and I reduced the salaries to where they should have been. We were spending a total of $15,000 to the employees. This board went and jumped it up to $21,000. Plus, they hired an additional financial consultant at $250 an hour. There's no work to be done, from what I can see, over the past year. This IDA is so important to the town. It brings in businesses, which helps keep the town tax dollars down. Again, I have a list of projects that I brought in 2 years. I see nothing on the horizon. Matter of fact, I understood that some of the projects that I had started walked away. So just my word of peace, again, how important this IDA is to our community, and I'm disappointed in what's happened. Even the person they named chairman walked away. I had a conversation with him, very disappointed in what happened. He actually called this the LAIDA, Lancaster Anti-Industrial Development Agency, and that's a shame, because the people that are losing are the residents.
Can I respond to that, Mr. Supervisor?
Absolutely.
You were appointed to the IDA board and you quit. And when you quit, you took away your director of finance with you as well, and leaving the IDA in a very bad position. Now, the IDA adjusted properly to make up for the paperwork and other things that weren't done appropriately during your term in there on the IDA. We're still dealing with that. I would have named you, or we would have named you again, put that out there, but again, you quit. So do you want to be on the IDA board?
So the proper term...
Do you want to be on the IDA board?
I'm going to respond to you. The proper term is resign due to basically, I was the chairman. So your people did not elect me chairman. I'm not going to sit there and do all the work and then have somebody else here take all the credit. I was the face of town of Lancaster. The supervisor has always been the chairman of the IDA. So all of a sudden, we're going to change the rules because of me. That's fine. Have at it. As far as director of finance, she wanted nothing to do with this group anymore either.
Do you want to be on the Lancaster IDA, Mr. Supervisor?
I would chair the IDA if you want to be the chair. But
only as the chair?
That's right.
But not as a member?
No, I am the supervisor. The supervisor has always chaired the IDA. There's no difference in me not chairing it now.
Okay, so you quit, you took your director of finance.
No, I resigned.
The people who got involved in this IDA took over for it, made the appropriate changes that needed to be made, and it's going to go forward, and it's going to continue. You hamstrung people,
so when we did
and that's
take it
what happened
over,
with the
there was
IDA.
nobody left as far as the office goes, okay? I walked in my second day, and an auditor took me in a room on the IDA. I wasn't even named chairman yet, and we were being audited. We fixed everything that had to be fixed with the auditor, everything, okay? We whatever, there was forms that were wrong, there were filings that were wrong, we fixed it all. We worked with the state auditor on this, and we were to the point and everything. and everything got fixed. So I don't know what you're talking about, but we work with the state auditor.
I didn't even mention the audit.
Well, I did, because I was involved. I got dragged into a room, and I wanted to make clear that I will fix.
My understanding is the audit didn't come out that good.
The audit came out great.
Well, that's your word, sir, but again,
No,
no.
the audit fixed everything they needed fixed. On the roll.
Okay, again, you don't want to be on there, right?
I do not want to be a member on the IDA.
Okay, so the members on the IDA will carry on when you chose not to.
I would be chairman. If you want to elect me chairman, I would be on the IDA, just like last year.
Do the roll.
On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
No. I'd like to move resolution number 4, and this resolves Town Board of Town of Lancaster. This is going to be for various officials to attend various meetings. Section 1 is for the town department heads or officials, where the designated hereby authorized to attend meetings, and the cost of meals should not exceed $6 per luncheon or dinner. Section 2 is for code enforcement officer or fire inspector to attend certain meetings. Section 3 is the court clerks. Section 4 is the town justices. Section 5 is the director of administration and finance. Section 6 is highway superintendent. Section 7 is the police chief. Section 8 is the town clerk. Section 9 is executive director of the youth bureau. Section 10, that during the 2023 year, all town officials and employees being and hereby are authorized to be paid standard mileage per mile for the use of their personal automobiles on all town business at a rate equal to the Internal Revenue Service guidelines, regulations for 2021 mileage and reimbursement. And Section 11 is for conferences not to exceed $400. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
Can we just, it should be for 2023?
Okay.
Section 10?
Yes,
Yes, I was going to ask that.
yes.
Okay. I thought they were, yeah. Okay, so we just made an amendment, the regulations for 2023 mileage reimbursement. On the,
And the second was,
yeah,
okay.
on the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes, Councilmember Mazer, number 6.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas the Town Board has determined that there is a need to set a policy in regards to monies and other financial resources available for investment and/or deposit on behalf of the Town of Lancaster, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has also determined that there is a need for a policy for the purchase of goods or services to determine the applicability of Section 103 of the General Municipal Law, now therefore be it resolved that in order to protect the interests of the Town of Lancaster, its residents and taxpayers, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby adopts the following policies as presented to be effective immediately, and which shall supersede any previous versions of such policies. A, investment and deposit policy. B, procurement policy. That's it.
You have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes, my apologies, I skipped number 5, so I'd like to present number 5. Be resolved that pursuant to the Civil Service Law of the State of New York, the supervisor of the Town of Lancaster being is hereby designated as the appointing officer of the Town of Lancaster, and B, the Commissioner of Personnel of County of Erie shall correspond on all matters of personnel concerning the Town of Lancaster with the Town Supervisor. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes, we're going to move on to number 7. I'd like to move resolution number 7. Resolved that a sum of $1,200 be allocated for the proper observance of Memorial Day and Independence Day to the following veterans organizations. Not to exceed $500, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Urban, VFW Post 7275. Not to exceed $350, Depew Post American Legion. Not to exceed $350, Disabled American Veterans Korean Era. Provided that such expenses as appropriate shall be paid upon properly itemized and audited vouchers, which shall be received during 2023. And be it further resolved that the sum of $2,500 for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the proper observance of Independence Day in the Town of Lancaster, which sum shall be paid shall be expended upon properly itemized and audited vouchers for such expenditure, be it for the resolve that the sum of $2,500 for the purpose of defraying the expenses connected with the spring and fall festivals along with New Year's Eve events sponsored by the Village of Lancaster, which sum shall be expended upon properly itemized and audited vouchers for such expenditure. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Leary, number 8.
Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, I move the following resolution for adoption. Be it resolved by the town board of the town of Lancaster as follows. Section 1, that those town elected and appointed officials who are authorized by the town to attend the 2023 New York State Association of Towns Training School and annual meeting to be held in New York City on February 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd are eligible for reimbursement for actual and necessary expenses, subject to the following limitations. Number 1, lodging, single occupancy room rate as at established conference rates. New York Marriott Marquis, 1535 Broadway, Times Square. Each employee is responsible for presenting a completed New York State Department of Taxation and Finance exemption form, ST-129, directly to the hotel for the purpose of obtaining tax-exempt occupancy. The town will not pay or reimburse and any taxes resulting from failure to submit exemption form. Travel, two-way airfare, train fare, or actual mileage direct to the hotel. Cab fare reimbursement restricted to fare between airport or train station to and from the hotel. Meals reimbursement not to exceed $50 per diem and includes reimbursement of actual expenses for the following meals per date for the employee only. Sunday, lunch and dinner. Monday, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Tuesday, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Wednesday, breakfast and lunch. And the conference registration fee authorized reimbursement of $150 per employee. All requests for reimbursement must be presented in the form of original itemized receipts. Unitemized credit card receipts will not be accepted. Reimbursement will not be made for the purchase of alcoholic beverages. Total reimbursement per employee is not to exceed the sum of $1,400 and also must have funds available in your department budget. All requests for reimbursement must be received by the supervisor no later than Friday, March 17th, 2023. Reimbursement requests submitted or received after this date will not be paid. Section 2, the highway superintendent, John Pilato, or town board member, Robert Leary, be and is hereby authorized as a delegate to the New York State Association of Towns Training School and annual meeting to be held in New York City on February 19th through the 23rd, 2023.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. I have a question. Highway Superintendent Pilato, you're listed as, in Section 2, as a delegate. Are you aware of that?
I was aware of it last year, and then it got canceled.
Yeah.
So
Are you aware of what the responsibilities are for that?
I need to stay after, correct? I stay a day later?
Do you know what your responsibilities are, though?
No.
Okay. You will be voting on resolutions put forth by the county, our county, okay, that I attend meetings for the supervisors, okay? So this is, again, the second year in a row, and I will tell you last year, for the first time, Lancaster did not have a voting representative, okay? Because my name wasn't listed and I could not vote on important resolutions that are making statements for our state of New York. And we had no representation out of Lancaster because two people that were listed, and why you have a highway person in here, I have no idea, okay? But again, you're doing it again. I will be locked out of this meeting because my name is not here, which makes no sense at all. I will also tell you the respect I get from the Association of Erie County Governments. I've been elected and will be sworn in as the president January 28th. Unfortunately, I don't get any respect out of this board, but I get it from the association. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
No. Councilmember Leary, number 9.
Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, be it resolved that the following schedule of salaries be and is hereby adopted effective January 1, 2023. Amounts represent annual salaries unless otherwise specified. Assessment Review Board chairperson, $225 per day, that's Bernanke. Assessment Review Board, could this type be any smaller? Assessment Review Board members, Folkowitz, Herman, Anola, and Guck, $175 per day. Secretary to Assessment Board of Review, part-time, Carolyn, $16.08 per hour. Assessor, Baker, Rebecca Baker, $54,118. Clerk, part-time, Powell, $18.05 per hour. Bingo Games of Chance, account clerk, part-time. Games of Chance auditor, Wojciech, $75 per inspection. Bingo inspector, part-time, Wojciech, $75 per inspection, includes mileage. Bingo inspector, Del Conzo, Ferrugo, Crinzy, includes mileage, $70 per inspection. Bingo inspection clerk, building inspection clerk, part-time, Flanagan, $19.74 per hour. Code enforcement officer, Officione, $71,761. Fire inspector, part-time, W. Revelis, $19.13 per hour. Council members, sitting in front of you, Burkhart, Dickman, Leary, and Mazer, it's $19,741 for the year. Court, clerk to town justice, L. Kepner, $48,172. Clerk to town justice, Lutner, $48,172. Court officers, Emberger, Everett, Hennitz, Jablonski, Morris, Pasternak, Shillo, $19.10 per hour. Town justice, Judge Servey, Judge Stabler, who was just sworn in today, by the way, Judge Stabler, $45,115. Dog control officer, Karn, $51,511. Assistant dog control officer, full-time, Bertozzi, she's on a STEP program, 85%. Through is $29,537.50, 90% will begin, and she'll be making $31,275, and the full rate will begin $33,013. Dog control officers, part-time, Galbo and Chapman, $16 per hour. Disaster preparedness services, Ron Rosler, $18,270. Highway administration, superintendent of highways, John Pilato, $75,169. Town drainage officer, part-time, also John Pilato, $5,783. Forestry supervisor, part-time, John Pilato, $3,700. Deputy and superintendent of highways, Michelle Barbaro, $38.09 per hour. Parks, recreation, forestry, and buildings, cleaner, part-time, Neville Paulwick Snyder, $15.92 per hour. Laborer, part-time, Barker, Chielli, Cook, Mahoney, $16 per hour. Recreation attendants, Alberti, Becker, Besh, Ferris, Fitzsimmons, Garby, Giza, Gronkowski, Huxley, S. Huxley, H. Huxley, Jeskinik, Janikowski, Kinderer, Crystal, Marcotte, D. Mescal, Musso, Polanco, Radecki, Smith, and Witt at $14.20 per hour. Recreation attendant, Kutzowitz, $16 per hour. Lifeguards, part-time, Kodal, Massaro, Wilkowski, and Wozniak, $15 per hour. Planning board secretary to the planning board, Cindy Mazieski, $115 per meeting. Police, clerk typist, confidential, Sharkey, $48,172. School crossing guard, Chapman, $14.20 per hour. Senior center, recreation attendant, Greco, $16 per hour. Attendance part-time, Radley and Brunner, $15 per hour. Attendance part-time, Burns and Janik, $14.20 per hour. Recreation inspector is part-time, Gaffney, Haas, Janikowitz, Warden, $31 per hour. Recreation supervisor, senior center, Mary Beth Gianni, $56,240. Van drivers, Brunner, Conklin, Hester Reeder, Morgus, Spire, and Stroda. Supervisor, accountant, $51,889. Assistant to the supervisor, $57,654. Yes.
I just told Diane, that was last year's because she was on a partial step.
Okay.
It's $58,519.
For who?
The assistant to the supervisor.
Okay, so it's 58, The rest of it?
519.
519.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, payrolls, Director of Administration and Finance, $86,275. Payroll Supervisor, part-time, $31.68 per hour. Secretary to the Supervisor, Cindy Mazieski, $48,172. Secretary to the IDA, Craig, and that's still got to be ratified by the IDA. LIDA Pilot Billing, Martin, $2,500. Supervisor Ron Ruffino, $72,164. Supervisor Budget Officer, 0. Town Attorney, Deputy Town Attorney Orlando, $14,210. Principal Clerk Typist, Confidential, $50,709. Town Attorney, Tom Fowler, $48,946. Town Prosecutor, also Tom Fowler, $13,795. Town Clerk, part-time, Lutz and Shepherd, $18.05 per hour. Deputy Receiver of Taxes, Garino, $62,442. Deputy Town Clerk, Martin, $62,442. Deputy Town Clerk, Craig, and, am I pronouncing that right, then? Crage, I'm sorry, Crage. Hired on 8/1/2022 on the STEP program. It goes for, full rate will be $48,172. It's 85% from 1/1/23 to 7/31/23. It's 90% full rate 8/1/23 to 12/31/23. Town Clerk, Diane Terranova, $76,631. Town Clerk Records Management Officer, Terranova, $6,935. Youth Bureau Clerk, part-time, Darmstedler and Sprouse, 1420. Thank you. 1420 per hour. Executive Director, John Trojanowski, $80,042. Tutor part-time, Clements and Marenka, $14.20 per hour. Tutor Doyle is $15.23 per hour. Tutor part-time, Metz Parks, Switowski. Thank you. Switiski. It's tougher when it's small, too. Wright, all $16.24 per hour. Lettieri is $17 per hour. Tutor, part-time, Bolera and McDonald, $17.26 per hour. Tutor, Kezeranski, $17.50 per hour. To be paid bi-weekly, Planning Board Chair, Dorenzo, $4,551 per year. Planning Board members, Anderson, Kopis, Gorski, Keefe, Kornziski, Reinhold, that's $3,558 per year. Zoning Board of Appeals, Chairperson Mickley, Zoning Board of Appeals, that's $2,324 per year. Zoning Board of Appeals members, Castellana, Monticelli, Storr, Studley, Tillmans, $1,805 per year. Clerk to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Diane Terranova, $3,652. Register of Vital Statistics, Terranova, $3,060. Be it further resolved that the terms of this resolution shall supersede the relevant terms of any previously adopted resolution, policies, and practices to the contrary.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
I have one thing. On Assessment Review Board, Emiola is no longer on, so that was the first one. So we'll
Okay.
strike him from the record.
Okay.
On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
No. We're going to move on to our regular meeting now. I'd like to move on to number 1. It's resolved the minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Board held December 19, 2022. Being hereby approved. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes, I'd like to move on to number 2, and this is out the following order claims being hereby ordered paid from the respective accounts as per abstract to be filed in the office of the town clerk by the assistant to the supervisor to wit. Check run number 0103203. Total amount hereby authorized to be paid, $752,887.30. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Mazer, number 3.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Be it resolved, the following building permit applications are hereby reaffirmed. There was a total of 11, 5 in the village, 6 in the town for 11 total permits. Now therefore it be resolved that the building permit application herein coded CSW for conditional sidewalk waiver being hereby reaffirmed with the waiver of the town ordinance required for sidewalks. However, the waiver is granted upon the express condition that the town of Lancaster at any future date reserves the right to order sidewalk installation at the expense of the property owner.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Dickman, number 4, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board. I offer a resolution for adoption. Whereas on July 18, 2018, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster issued a special use permit upon the application of Timothy Packman on behalf of Lancaster Properties LLC to operate a motorsports speedway dragway on the premise known as 57 Gunville Road, the Town of Lancaster. And whereas on September 7, 2021, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster issued an amended special use permit allowing the operations to operate a motorsport speedway drag and venue for small outdoor concerts. And whereas Scott Nurmi of Lancaster Motorplex LLC has submitted an application to amend the original special use permit to indicate the transfer of ownership from Lancaster Properties LLC to Lancaster Motorplex LLC, which was received by the town on May 26, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster will hold a public hearing on the proposed special use permit amendment application of Scott Nurmi to transfer ownership of real property located at 57 Gun Road from Lancaster Properties LLC to Lancaster Motorplex LLC on January 17, 2023 at 7:05 p.m. in Lancaster Town Hall, 21 Central Avenue, Lancaster, New York, and that the notice of the time and place of such hearing be published in a newspaper of general circulation in said town and posted on the town bulletin board, and which notice shall be in the form attached hereto and made a part hereof.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 5, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board. I'm offering Resolution Number 5 for adoption. Whereas Jeffrey Smith, Detective Captain for the Town of Lancaster's Police Department, has requested to purchase a camera drone to assist the police officers and detectives in performing law enforcement functions, and whereas the police captain solicited 3 proposals for the purchase of the camera drone and battery kit in accordance with the Town of Lancaster's procurement policy, and whereas by letter dated December 12, 2022, Captain Smith has recommended that the Town of Lancaster purchase DJI Mavic 3 enterprise camera drone and battery kit from Vertigo Drones for the amount not to exceed $6,657 per their quote dated December 5th, 2022. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby approves the purchase of DJI Mavic 3 enterprise camera drone and battery kit from Vertigo Drones, Webster, New York, as proposed by Police Captain Jeffrey Smith for an amount not to exceed $6,657 per their quote dated December 5th, 2022, order number VD90715, and which will be paid for with funds from town's 2022 Police Department's contractual expenses, photo supplies budget, line item P3120.446.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Leary, number 6, please.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor, Honorable Town Board members, I move the following resolution for adoption. Whereas it is in the public interest for the Parks and Recreation Department of the Town of Lancaster to operate a playground facility in the Town of Lancaster on property owned by the Twin District Volunteer Fire Company Incorporated at 4999 William Street in said town for the years 2023 and 2024, and whereas the town attorney has prepared an agreement setting forth the terms and conditions upon which such recreational area will be utilized by the Town of Lancaster, now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute an agreement between the town of Lancaster and the Twin District Volunteer Fire Company Incorporated for the lease of said fire company's play area on its premises at 4999 William Street in Lancaster, to the town of Lancaster for the operation of the town's recreation program during its normal summer season for the years 2023 and 2024, and that the town attorney will distribute the executed copies of said agreement to the appropriate parties. That's it.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 7. This resolved the following individual, which is Tiffany L. Schillo, court officer, 1910 per hour, effective date January 3rd, 2023, is hereby appointed to the position of court officer part-time provisional in the Town Justice Court Department in the town of Lancaster, contingent upon approval by Erie County Department of Personnel, working not more than 19 3/4 hours per week, and that these being part-time positions provide no health insurance, sick days, vacation, or other fringe benefits not specifically mandated for part-time employees. Be it further resolved that when Tiffany Schillo is called upon to serve as court officer, she shall receive a minimum of 3 hours pay, or pay for the actual number of hours worked, whichever is greater. And be it further resolved, the supervisor of the town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes, I'd like to move resolution number 8. It's resolved the town board of town of Lancaster hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute the contract with on-site employee testing for the 2023 calendar year to provide random town employee drug and alcohol testing at the rates outlined by the 2023 pricing sheet. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute the DOT program sheet provided by on-site employee testing with their contact. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. Councilmember Dickman, number 9, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board. I offer Resolution 9 for adoption. Whereas William Balcom, 5 Parliament Lane, Lancaster, New York, 14086, has applied to the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster for a permit for private improvements upon real property in the Town of Lancaster within 4266 Walden Avenue. And whereas the Town Engineer of the Town of Lancaster is certified in the following permit application, that he has reviewed the improvement plans and permit application for the installation of private improvements requested, and that they conform to the ordinance of the Town of Lancaster. Now therefore be it resolved that the private improvement permit application number 846 for 4266 Walden Avenue, Lancaster, New York, which is a private improvements for building a mixed-use office and warehouse. It's 5,000 square foot building on 4266 Walden. The property will be landscaped, having 15 parking spaces along with a detention pond.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. Councilmember Mazer, number 10, please.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas Gerald and Deborah Litwiller, owners of real property located at 272 Erie Street, Lancaster, New York, have submitted an application for a special use permit for home occupation, commercial catering kitchen, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 400 zoning, Article 4, residential districts, Section 400-16F, supplementary regulations for ARR and MFMU districts, home occupations of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, and whereas the Chapter 400 zoning, Article 14, administration and enforcement, Section 400-78, special use permits of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires the issuance of special use permit and a public hearing for the proposed use. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 14, administration and enforcement, Section 400-78, special use permits of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, a public hearing on the proposed home occupation, special use permit application of Gerald and Deborah Litwiller, owners of real property located at 272 Erie Street, will be held at Lancaster Town Hall, 21 Central Avenue, Lancaster, New York, on the 17th day of January 2023 at 7:05 p.m. local time, and said notice of time and place of such hearing shall be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the town and posted on the town bulletin board, and that a copy of such notice of hearing be referred to the Erie County Department of Planning pursuant to Section 239M of the General Municipal Law, which notice shall be in form attached hereto and made their part of.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, we are polling number 11, and it's being replaced by a suspended resolution, so Councilmember Mazur, number 12.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, off the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas Deputy Highway Superintendent has requested authorization to purchase 2 new and unused Cargo Pro 6K utility trailers for the use of the Parks and Recreation Forestry Department, and whereas the deputy obtained 3 quotes for the purchase of the utility trailers in accordance with the Town of Lancaster's procurement policy, and whereas by letter dated December 22nd, 2022, the Deputy Highway Superintendent has recommended that the Town of Lancaster purchase the 2 new and unused Cargo Pro 6K utility trailers from Western New York Accessory Shop, doing business as Master Motors of Buffalo Incorporated, for a unit price of $6,630 each, for a total amount of $13,260 for their quote dated December 13th, 2022. And whereas funding for the purchase of the 2 Cargo Pro 6K utility trailers is available from the town's 2022 Parks Equipment, Other Motorized Equipment Budget, line item 01-7110-0230. Now therefore it be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby approves the purchase of 2 new and unused Cargo Pro 6K utility trailers from Western New York Accessory Shop, DBA Master Motors of Buffalo, 6575 South Transit Road, Lockport, New York, in accordance with their quote dated December 13, 2022, for a total amount not to exceed $13,260, which will be paid for with funds available from the town's 2022 Parks Equipment, otherwise motorized equipment budget.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, Councilmember Burkhart, number 13.
Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I am offering Resolution 13 for adoption. Whereas Twin District Volunteer Fire Company, by letter received December 28, 2022, has requested the addition of the following member to the roster of said fire association. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby confirms the addition to the membership of the Twin District Volunteer Fire Company, the following individual, Jason Ford.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, Councilmember Leary, number 14.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, I move the following resolution for adoption. Whereas the park crew chief position of the Town of Lancaster Parks and Recreation Department is currently vacant due to the appointment of Michelle Barbaro as Deputy Highway Superintendent, now therefore be it resolved that Carmen Ciccarelli is hereby appointed to this title of Park Crew Chief in the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department effective January 3rd, 2023, at a salary of $68,054 with no oversight from the Highway Department, subject to the further terms of the town's policies relating to non-union supervisory personnel. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster shall grant Carmen Ciccarelli a leave of absence from his current position of laborer crew chief at the Town of Lancaster Park, Recreation, and Forestry Department without pay for a period not to exceed 1 year, pursuant to CEA White Collar Contract Section 7.2, and be it further resolved that the supervisor of the Town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
I do have, if it's okay with our Lancaster Senior Center Director, is it okay if I read your email to the town board? Okay. Supervisor Rufino, honorable council members, I just wanted to let you know that my seniors saw that Carmen was up for promotion to crew chief, and they have been making comments all day about how helpful he has always been. Many have known him for quite a few years and appreciate the job he has done. They wanted to come to the meeting to voice their support, but many have mobility issues, so they asked if I would email you to show their support. Personally, having worked with Carmen for the past 6 years, I fully support his promotion to crew chief. He has shown to be an asset to this town and his experience unparalleled. He's always available off hours, including vacations. He has always made himself available when I have had an issue. Thank you, Mary Beth Gianni.
On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
No.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
No.
Supervisor Rufino?
No. I'd like to move resolution number 15. Now therefore be it resolved that Nicholas Beamish of Lancaster, New York, being hereby appointed to the position of labor in the town of Lancaster Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department effective January 1st, 2023, and that such appointment shall be subject to all applicable provisions of the collective negotiation agreement between the town of Lancaster and the CSEA White Collar Union and all applicable provisions of law. And be it further resolved, the supervisor of the town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I guess you're on here to suspend the rules, so, not me. So,
What's that?
according to this, you're the person that has to suspend the rules. Unless I'll do it, you gotta change it.
For which one?
For which one?
Well, it's gonna be for all three of them.
I thought I had put in, I did not, that wasn't part of my original.
Okay,
I'm not
so
sure
then
about
I'll change it. I'd like to ask for suspension, to suspend the rules to present the following three suspended resolutions.
that. Motion to suspend?
May I have a second?
Second?
On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
No.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. No, this count is 15, then it'll be, right? We have to change the order,
16.
or no? Well,
No,
okay,
11
just go-
stays.
11 stays.
Gotcha, just make 16, okay. So I'd like to move resolution number 16, and this resolve that Lisa Zajac to be compensated a stipend equal to the pay rate difference between her new and former positions effective December 27th through and until January 3rd for actual hours worked. Be it further resolved that Supervisor of the Town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. Lisa was brought in last week, 2 days, to work with EBC. Pretty much, that was all she needed to kind of get everything going, and they're on their own now. So may I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, I'd like to thank the chief for letting her free up for a couple of days to assist us. Again, I'm sure all the employees appreciate that too, because of the fact that it's payroll. I'd like to move resolution number 17. And whereas the town of Lancaster has current vacancy in one or more accounting, HR, director of payroll, and director of finance positions, and whereas Ron Rufino, Senior, Town Supervisor of the Town of Lancaster, has recommended that Lumsden McCormick LLP be hired and compensated for performing duties of the positions currently vacant, whereas Lumsden McCormick will perform duties previously under the umbrella of Finance Director, Payroll Director, HR Services until such time as the agreement is terminated under the terms of the agreement as presented. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Lancaster hereby authorize the Town Supervisor to execute on behalf of the Town of Lancaster the agreement for professional services as presented between the Town of Lancaster and Lumsden and McCormick LLP for services according to the agreement for a monthly fee not to exceed $8,250 per month per the terms and conditions listed in the agreement. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
No.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 18. Whereas the town of Lancaster has current vacancies in one or more of the accounting, HR, director of payroll, and director of finance positions. Whereas Ronald Rufino, Senior, Town Supervisor of the Town of Lancaster, has recommended that EBC, HR, and payroll solutions be hired and compensated for performing duties of positions currently vacant, whereas EBC HR and Payroll Solutions will perform duties previously under the umbrellas of Payroll Director and HR Services until such time as agreement is terminated under the terms of the agreement as presented. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor to execute on behalf of the Town of Lancaster the agreement for professional services as presented between the Town of Lancaster and EBC HR and Payroll Solutions for services according to the agreement for a monthly fee not to exceed $8,200 per month per the terms and conditions listed in the agreement. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
Question is, so the people who weren't in here before know, this is on a month-to-month basis for this Payroll Solutions company, is that correct, Mr. Fowler?
It is.
Okay. So therefore, we can get out of it at any point with a month's notice. Personally, I think you should hire personnel to take care of these issues, but the supervisor has determined we're not going to do that. We can't hold up payroll from the town employees, so I guess I am going to vote yes for this.
And just a comment, we tried getting the Director of Finance and it didn't work. And basically, we've taken the salaries of 3 people. We no longer have to pay for any of the benefits. We're going to save money, a lot of money by doing this. And as you heard the presentation, if you were here for the work session, there are teams working on this for this fee. It's not just one person. Mainly, we'll have one contact, but there'll be teams with expertise that can come in at any time. So just for example, we lost our payroll person. We lost actually 2 payroll people in the last couple of months, okay? Put us in a whirlwind of fire. If that happens with them, they just throw in another body from their corporation, okay, because they have 65 employees. So they could just filter in another person to take over the duties of payroll. I do not want to put the jeopardy that these employees that work so hard for their money and to have them not have the thought of the press of not getting a check just sickens me. So I felt this was the best way to go. And again, we're saving money at the end of the day. And that's what we're here in these positions. We should look to save money and streamline things. And
Well,
that's what I'm doing.
what's the next step, Mr. Supervisor? Are we going to get rid of other employees and bring in contractors for that? It'd probably be cheaper as well.
It all depends on what you're talking about. In this case, it ended up being the best thing. We've proven that. It's proven fact here. Are you talking about someone like Highway? Absolutely not. The people in the Highway, they're residents of the town. They know the town like nobody else. They're going to do the job. You can't replace people like that. When it comes to this work like this, maybe all departments should look at this and see where they can streamline things. I found it to be beneficial to show what the services they can do versus what we were getting done from the other people. It just worked out better.
Well, there's more than highway, although I agree with you on that. There's rec department, there's other departments.
I use them as an
What-
example. I
what-
understand.
What do you what are your plans?
My plans are to take care of my office. There are other department heads that can take care of theirs and run them as efficiently as they want. My plan was to take care of my office. This is how I see fit to run my office. On the roll, please.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Voting yes, only so people get paid.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. Okay, we'll do communications. Number 1, resolution tonight. Number 2 through 5, received and filed. Number 6, for resolution. 7 and 8, received and filed. 9 is for resolution. 10 and 11, received and filed. 12 for resolution. 13 through 16, Planning Committee. '17, received and filed. 18 and 19, resolution tonight. 20 for resolution. And the remaining 21 through 24, resolution tonight. Okay, we come to the part of the meeting where anybody in the audience could speak about any subject they'd like. Just raise your hand and give your name and address so the clerk can record it properly.
Greg Soika, 19 Spruceland Terrace. Happy New Year to the board and the supervisor. I'm going back to 2020 and an article in the paper, improving employee morale is a top priority for the town's new boss. That would be you, Supervisor Ruffino. Over the next 4 years, Ruffino, a Democrat, has high hopes for similar ideals that he pitched in his campaign for town supervisor: a happier town workforce, fiscal conservatism, transparency, and good government. One of the Ruffino's first changes has been to hire a new financial advisor, Pamela Cruvello, instead of the former town financial advisor, Dave Brown. Your comment was, "I am not a political person," Ruffino said. Everybody thought this was a political move. I did it properly. I put the job out to bid. I had 30 applicants. Very good. As of right now, Lancaster, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is short on an accountant, also short on an assistant to the supervisor, also short on a director of administration and finance, payroll supervisor part-time, and I was just wondering, is privatizing some department positions and operations seriously being considered, permanent or part-time, until positions can be filled? Also, I would like to know is why are so many people leaving your office? Why are so many people leaving your department? I just feel that the town is not being represented and the workers aren't being protected for their pay and overlooking the budget, and I just want to know, what is the process?
Again, I was told by some of these employees, they weren't leaving because of me, they were leaving because of the bully tactics of a council member. That's all I can say.
That's a total lie. That's a total lie. And for people who weren't here before, again, I'll turn the meeting over to Diane Terranova, our town clerk.
I had people crying in my office. So that's all I can tell you what I know.
Ron, I had nothing to do with these people. I mean, you're completely
Sir,
lying.
it's your
Whose
office.
responsibility
You are
is
the
office?
supervisor, and this is your office. And I just went through the list of people that are no longer here. Now, was I mistaken? Did I miss anyone that is here and I made a mistake?
We had a person take a $9,000 cut to leave the department because she's fearing her job. Because she's not protected.
You got a lawsuit.
Because she's not protected.
Okay,
She's not, because she's
but
appointed by the
you're
board.
ducking my issues.
I'm not ducking anything.
Okay,
Listen,
so
this is
the information I presented is correct.
Soika, you could comment, and then when you're done, you're done.
Okay, so you just blamed everyone leaving on Councilman Leary. Is that correct?
I did. That's what I was told by the employees.
Okay, again,
All I can
I would
say.
call, and I don't want to interrupt you, but
I'm just saying.
I'm going to call on the town clerk once again, if you don't mind, to respond to this. I mean, this is utterly ludicrous.
I spoke to every person that
Did you talk to Pam?
left the
As well?
supervisor's office, and I was told it was not because of any of the 4 council members.
And you're making some pretty serious allegations here, Mr.
He
Supervisor,
asked
which
me,
need to
I
be
told him what I
explored.
was told.
Well, you're wrong,
Well,
and you're lying,
I'm not
and you're
lying.
playing
This is what I was
politics.
told.
You're playing
Listen, I have no
politics with
reason to
this.
play politics.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
you're-
Sir, in 2020, you're quoted as saying you're not going to play politics.
And I'm not. I'm just, you asked me a question, I told you what these employees told me. That's all.
And
I don't-
I will just end it with this. Your words were, you're going to improve employee morale in 2020. Has employee morale improved, or have you failed?
I have not failed. I'm doing the best I can to keep employees.
But has employee...
I can't answer that. That's the
Okay.
employees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
David Reno, 15 Weathersfield. Happy New Year, guys. This is a statement, Mr. Supervisor. No questions here. For 3 years, I've watched you from that chair do a really poor job as a supervisor, okay? The reason
that you're in the position you are is your attitude and how you lead this board and mislead it. And most of the problem in this town has come out of your office since you sat in that chair. We can go back over the history. I'll do it if you'd like. There's a multitude of times where your office presented wrong information, late information, or just wouldn't provide it. Do you think that the LIDA board meeting you commented on looks any foolisher than this is right here, what you're doing right here? That's a statement, not a question,
Yes,
sir.
no, I'm not answering.
Okay? It is, and that's why you're in the position you're in, sir. At the beginning of this meeting, you accused that man of breaking the law. I would ask one question to the town attorney. Is it a crime to harass somebody till they quit their job, Mr. Attorney?
It can be, under correct circumstances.
You made that, you accused him of that, sir. That's why you're in the position you're in here, and no one will deal with you, Ron. You're bigger than yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Yes.
Hi. Happy New Year. I'm Kelly Hartwig. You guys know who I am. I live at 21 America Court. I'm here to talk about the parks again. So it's my understanding that a couple weeks ago I was not in attendance, and there were about 20 people from the Partridge Walk area who came to oppose the land that is behind their property to be used for a park. So I would like to speak on why I don't think that that is fair for the rest of the residents in southern Lancaster. No matter what park location we pick, we're going to get some pushback on, and we know that for certain. But I feel like the decisions for the park at Partridge Walk should be made based on facts and emotion, or sorry, should be based on facts and not on emotions and fear. So I want to talk about the facts. First and foremost, according to the U.S. Census page, there are 45,000 people who live in Lancaster, of which 12 to 14,000 are aged 0 to 17, so they're children. On my Facebook group, who are in support of adding more parks to the community, I have almost 500 members. So at this prior meeting, you were presented with 70 signatures, which is roughly 0.002% of the adult population. There may be an online petition that has roughly 200 additional names to that, but has anyone on the board looked at that and made sure that those are all Lancaster residences with addresses associated with it? Anyone? No? Well, today I will be giving you a document with 400 signatures from people who live in Lancaster with their addresses noted. And if it wasn't for the holidays and a blizzard and the fact that I have 3 teenage boys that I run around between sports and school and work, I could double that, triple that, quadruple it, and I will if that's what I need to do. Because for the people who I spoke with around that piece of property, overwhelmingly are in support of using that town-owned land for a park, because that is what it was intended for. So now I'd like to respond to some of the concerns that were addressed at the meeting by those who are opposed to it. To recap, it would be privacy, security, not safe access for the kids, not enough space for the park, wildlife being dishomed, a gas line, and noise. I'll start with the questionable objectives, first being the gas line. This would be for an engineer to determine whether or not there is any safety issues, not the owners surrounding the town-owned property. There was one concern about accidents around the Aurora America Court area and how it wouldn't be safe for children. I've been on America Court for 15 years, and other than one very unfortunate accident that occurred around 2009 where a drunk driver was part of the accident, and at night, I have heard of no other pedestrians being hit across that area. So if anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, that's the only accident that I've heard of. All of these kids from the streets that surround this property can get to the property safely through the neighborhood sidewalks. Parks close at dusk, so there will be minimal people walking at night on Aurora. And ultimately, it's parents' decisions to determine whether or not they feel safe a kid can walk to a park, not the owners that surround the town-owned property. Now I'm going to address some of the false statements. First, there were comments about traffic becoming a problem. Again, this is for the town experts to decide, not the homeowners that surround the town-owned property. There are many examples of neighborhood parks that don't even have access roads. They're simply neighborhood parks where there's a path for kids to safely get into that. And I have some examples of those parks that I can share with you at the end of the meeting, some pictures. Second, the lack of green space in Lancaster. Well, I also have maps that I will show you. There is plenty of green space. We have looked at tons of it. It's all not buildable. It's all protected. There's tons of green space. That little pocket behind a built-out community neighborhood is not for wildlife. And let's be honest, animals losing their homes, we can build a park that can accommodate wildlife. That's absolutely would be part of the plan. And I don't think any of us have ever been to a park where there's no wildlife. The space is too small was another concern. Well, Meadow Lee is the same size. In fact, I've heard it's even an acre and smaller. There were comments made from the homeowners that this is in their backyard, when in fact it's not. Their backyards end at their property lines, just like every one of us who bought a house in Lancaster. And just like it was stated at the prior meeting, if our backyards are good enough for our kids, then their backyards are good enough for them. The property behind their homes belonged to the community, the taxpayers, and that land was purchased for a park before any of these homes were built or purchased. There was another concern about noise from backyards, and I don't believe there's a law about noise during the day, but I'm sure the design of the park can be built so that the play equipment can be set back far enough and not to disturb the owners. So now I want to talk about the comments based on fear. And this fear is what's causing some of the homeowners around there to maybe question whether or not they want a park. Security of homes around the park. Well, I contacted the Lancaster Police and I questioned the number of calls that they received over the last few years at Meadow Lee. The answer was 2019, they had 3 calls, 2020, 3 calls, 2021, 0, and 2022, 6. I asked what the nature of those calls were, and it was primarily due to a nosy neighbor who saw a parked car past dusk. There were no fights, there were no drugs, no alcohol, and there were no problems pertaining to noise. I also contacted the West Seneca Police, their new captain I spoke with, because it's my understanding that someone presented at the meeting who was the prior captain of police for West Seneca, that without a doubt there would be drugs and alcohol and noise if we put a new park in that community. Well, I grew up in West Seneca and I was there till I was in my mid-20s. And I'm pretty certain that the former police chief knows that there is a difference between the location of the park that we are trying to build at Partridge Ridge versus the locations that he is referring to, or was referring to. I spoke with the Waseneca Police, the captain, and the pocket parks in Waseneca, such as Carriage Park, Westgate, and Fisher Court, have had no calls to them. No problems whatsoever. My brother is a state trooper and also a Lancaster resident, and he used to cover the Clarence community. And he said the same thing regarding their neighborhood parks. Barely any calls have ever been there, and definitely nothing related to drugs or alcohol or anything to that nature. So again, I think that we need to do our fact checking before we decide to just stop on this project. Has anyone spoken to anyone that lives near Meadow Lee? Because I have. I spoke to a woman whose home is directly at the entrance of the park, and her yard is basically in the park. She just joined my Facebook group because she's so passionate about adding parks to the community. Every noted reason opposed to the park, she disputed without a doubt. No issues with teenagers, security, noise, cars, and there's definitely plenty of wildlife, including deer, that she still sees in her backyard. I have 2 letters of statement from 2 residents of Lancaster who have grown up here and now have their families here, who grew up next to Meadow Lee. One is the head athletic trainer for ECC Athletics, and another one is a director of accounting at Blue Cross Blue Shield. They both speak to how highly valuable having a park near their homes growing up had such a benefit on them growing up. No problems whatsoever, so I'll give you each a copy of that. So I wanted to end this by saying that, council members, it's your job to find out the facts before you decide to stop a park from being built within our community. Let's find out the facts. Our community is already at a disadvantage because we have barely any recreational resources for our kids and our residents. The town continues to sell property to homeowners. It continues to collect more money from new homes for parks and recs, and it continues to collect more taxes. Yet in the last 20 years, we have not done our job in making Lancaster a livable social community for the residents to thrive in. Residents should not have to ask for parks, they should already be here. And waiting for the town to look for another location after over 400 days when there isn't an existing location near us, and we have one that exists that was purchased for a park, is just not acceptable. So I'd like to know, what is the next steps pertaining to Partridge Walk? Is that officially off the table, or is it still being discussed?
It's off the table.
Right now, it's off the table.
And why is that? Because of 70 signatures?
because this board felt it was not the right spot for the park.
So was there a vote that occurred?
A vote, I don't know, we just decided as a board. that-
Doesn't there need to be a vote?
Well, there was no resolution, Kelly,
A resolution for what?
for a park.
Was that property purchased many, many years ago for a park?
I have no idea.
Does anyone on the board know that? Nobody knows of that property. It's town-owned property. I believe I have an email from you that stated it was purchased for a
Not
park.
from me, because I've only been here for 3 years, and I've never told you that.
So what is the purpose of that property behind that neighborhood?
And just-
6 acres of land, which
just so
is
you
the
know,
same
we're not-
size as Meadow
We're
Lee.
way over to 5 minutes.
Okay.
We're at least 10 or 12. I'm just letting you know, because.
Okay. So does
To get
anybody
your
else have
point
any questions
across.
about this park?
Just so you know.
So it's owned by the town.
You have to come up, sir.
Scott Zarzinski, 21 Fieldstone Lane, it's owned by the town. What's it for?
I have no idea.
I would love to have, a nice, beautiful land behind me that I don't have to pay taxes on.
Whenever they filed the subdivision plot, I have no idea what it was for.
It was part of a subdivision approval. It was deeded to the town. It was land-
For use of what?
Just,
Just a plot of land, just sitting there, just,
it happens all the time.
oh, really? So just gonna sit there and do nothing and they don't have to pay the taxes on it? But does the town maintain it?
I don't think we maintain it.
It's basically a conservation area.
Yeah, basically open space.
Yeah, it's open conservation area.
I mean, it's,
Basically, or it is? I'm sorry, what?
basically there is.
Have you seen it?
Have I seen it? Yes, I live right near it.
Well, then you know what it is.
Is it maintained?
We don't cut, we don't
I thought
cut the
you
grass
asked
there.
what it
Is it
was.
maintained?
We don't cut the grass there.
What's that?
We don't cut the grass there.
Cut the grass.
Well, it's not tall weeds there, so somebody's maintaining it.
It is all weeds. It's a overgrowth, whatever.
Okay, so what was it meant for back in 1960?
I have no idea. I wasn't on this town board.
80? So nobody knows what it was used for? And we're just,
It could have been something to the point where when the development comes in, they have to provide so much green space, okay? And that's, I'm just giving you an observation. Now, what that development was for, I can't tell you, but isn't that,
Yeah, I mean, it was part of the original Partridge
Yeah.
Walk development. I couldn't, before me.
No, they probably, when they filed it, if,
I'll get the deed and see what it says. Have you
not
seen it?
necessarily.
I mean, I'll get it.
You have to go back to
Take a
the,
look.
you have to go back to the map cover.
I have no idea because
Which will be-
this happened, this Partridge Walk, I don't even know how old this Partridge Walk, the homes are there.
Partridge Walk is an old subdivision.
it's 80 or something.
Yeah, so that subdivision plot was filed 20-some years ago. I mean,
Yeah, and it was communicated to me that that part of land was purchased for a park. And
But-
it's never been. In fact, this is the second time people of the community have been are asking for this to be turned into a park. So why did it not be turned into a park before the Meadow Crossing was built?
I have no idea.
You can't speak from back there because that's not picking you out. You don't research yourself?
Yeah, I'll get a copy of the deed and I'll research and review the map cover and see if I can shed some light on it, but I've never seen it. It's nothing that would be seen unless somebody asked us specifically, look at the deed, look at the map cover. I gotta caution you though, odds are that there's nothing in the deed that describes what the purpose of the transfer was for. It's most likely site plan review from the prior planning board, and they said, if you're gonna put houses and streets and sidewalks, there needs to be some green space. It's just a guess until I can take a look at the map. I have.
So going forth, when a developer develops a area, what does green space actually mean, just for my own knowledge?
Undeveloped space. It might be a wetland, it might be grassy areas, could be
Parts
trees
of
or
it,
forestry.
Pleasant
There's a
Meadows
pipe under the
has
ground.
40 acres of woods. It's conservation off of Juniper. Off of Juniper, heading north towards Pleasantview, on the right-hand side, that forest, that's conservation, that's owned by the town.
Okay, so north side of Lancaster.
Excuse me, Scott?
that was-
Your last name?
SZARZYNSKA.
Thank you.
Okay, so to clarify, I was here a month ago where the board approved moving forward with that land. It was approved by the engineer, And it was going to the Army Engineer Corps to look at for any additional problems before we move forward with that being a park. That was a month ago. And then 2 weeks after, 20 people from that area came and complained because they don't want basically town-owned property to be used for a park for the community, and the project stopped. Why is that? What was the reason behind it? Why did we stop it? Why did the town approve moving forward with it? It was green space owned by the town that we were going to use for a park. It was with a third-party engineer, and I was told it was going to take 6 months to look at that park. And I know for a fact it's there because I have a friend that works at Army Engineers. And then I got an email 2 weeks later saying that the project was stopped because 20 people came in, and they quoted information about West Seneca parks that have nothing to do with Lancaster. They talked about not big enough space, which is absolutely not true because Meadow Lee is the same size. They talked about the fact that wildlife would be dispersed. Well, let's be honest, when Hidden Meadow Crossing went in there, deer started running out onto the streets. They're in my neighborhood across the street from there. And we can work with, well, you guys can, it's not my job. You can work with engineers or designers to create a really great park for our community. And it's the only space that we have available after over a year of looking for. Why can't we move forward with it? Because I don't get a reason? None of us get a reason? I have almost 500 people on Facebook who want to know why we can't build this park. Why? Nobody? Well, here are the signatures, here are the maps that show the property, which I've presented to you guys more than once. Who gets the signatures? Thank you. A copy of this for you guys. It also shows West Seneca parks. West Seneca has less land than we do, 45,000 residents, and they were able to figure out how to put 16 parks in their community. We have 4.
Does anybody else want to speak?
4 parks. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
A third time? Yes?
Carmen Ciccarelli, 47 Stony Brook. On Resolution 14, can I have a reason why you 3 voted no?
I'm not going to discuss personnel issues.
Okay, do you know what we're going to do with this? Because you posted this job in October, and we're now in January.
I'm not going to discuss personnel issues with you.
When I talked to civil service, you cannot have a department head running 2 departments, which is currently happening. And I think they notified, from what I got from the lady at civil service, is she notified the town. So I was just curious, are we...
Right now, we have 2 labor crew chiefs.
Exactly. But you also have someone that oversights that
They can run the
cannot.
department right now.
I'm sorry. What was it?
We have 2 labor crew chiefs that can run the department right now.
Okay, and there's
If
no
so- if-
more highway involved in it, correct?
Well, right now, I don't know. I mean, I assume that they still are, because that's what it was for the last.
Well, if we give
That
jobs,
wasn't-
we
That
can
wasn't
get
the
jobs.
agreement that we talked about in the past, where Highway was going to come in and oversee this for a while. They were going to train up the people in the Parks Department, the crew chiefs, to take over, and that hasn't happened. That's why there was a job posted, people applied, everybody who wanted to apply was allowed to apply for that job. Okay? We took the applications, we interviewed the people involved. Carmen Ciccarelli was the most qualified person for that job. He should get the job. This is ridiculous. It's not going to continue under the Highway Department forever. That's not what it was set up for.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Ask for a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to close the meeting.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned.
Fun stuff.
I'm sorry? Oh, for school.
Right here?
You guys are where you pay extra for the theatrics of tonight?
You guys must be in Mr. Abraham's class?